Hey, Kevin here, top 100 financial advisor, two-time author, one-time bestseller, and we are here to talk about the stock market. Some very interesting and exciting news, I guess. I don't know if exciting is a good word to use here, but there's some positive news about Johnson & Johnson, some negative news for Kodak, which I be telling y'all. But before we get into that, number one, make sure that you share this video. Also, make sure that you go to buildingbread.com/free. I don't think I added it to the description of this video, but you definitely want to do that to be added to the email list. The email list, I will send out, I usually send out an email, usually on Mondays, sometimes on Wednesdays, but at least once a week to let you know about what's going on, what to do, what not to do, and just kind of give you a lay of the land so you can understand the investing space a bit better. Because some people invested and lost a lot of money in Kodak. Others have learned from what's going on in the email list or in the email rather, to save a lot of money, prevent a lot of loss, and also find some ideas that can be actually profitable. As you have seen, if you've been watching here on Facebook or YouTube or wherever you may be watching this, you know that, I be right more often than not. So make sure that you sign up for the email list. That is buildingbread.com/free because it's free. All right, so I'm going to take a quick moment to go ahead and share myself and also monitor comments. So if you have any questions, comments, feel free to ask those. And let me do that right now. And let me hit the share button. All right, so you should also be sharing. 3 of you have shared so far. Thank you. I appreciate it. The rest of y'all, hit the share button. All right, now let's go ahead and get started. So first, before I get into the big news, if you haven't heard, one, Kodak fell off the map. Yes, it's absolutely true. But they're also reportedly subject to an SEC investigation. SEC is the Securities and Exchange Commission. What they do is essentially monitor. They are the stock police. If something is scammy, if something ain't right, they're the ones who come and bust you. Well, Kodak is right in the middle of this because, as you see, they were up 2,700%. And the issue was not only did the stock just shoot up like crazy, which always raises a red flag, it is a little sketchy, but that in and of itself is not the point. The point is the CEO of the company, I don't remember his name, he had some stock options, which is essentially saying, you as a CEO, you're able to buy the stock at a cheaper price, and as the stock goes up, you can sell it at that higher price. It's essentially what a stock option is, especially if you are a CEO or really key employee, things of that nature. Well, he got his stock options the day before the announcement, which means he got options to buy Kodak at like $2, $3, $4, and it shot up to 60. And if the stock was at $2 or $3, he probably had an option to buy it even cheaper, which is ridiculous. But the fact that it just happened to, he just happened to be getting these options right before the announcement, and right before most people would expect it was going to shoot up, and was it going to go up to 2,700? No, but that just looks sketchy. So they're reportedly going to be investigated by the SEC. The company is saying that it is a coincidence that he was going to get those stock options on that day, regardless of what was going to happen. And in theory, that makes sense. Like, some employees, CEOs, again, key employees and things of that nature, do receive stock options on a regular basis. Sometimes it's yearly, on the first day of April or whenever. Other times it can be quarterly. So it could have just randomly coincided in that space. But the fact that it happened the day before and the stock took off the way that it did is just a really big red flag, and they're going to be investigated for it. They also have their earnings call, I believe, tomorrow. This news, plus the news of however they've been doing financially, is going to move the stock positively or negatively. I don't know. What we also know about Kodak too is, yes, they did get the $765 million loan. That's not going to be it's not going to affect what happened over the last quarter. They just got that over the last few days, right? And when you do quarterly reports, it only tells you past information. So we're really looking at, March, April, June. How well did this company do? Did I do that right? March, April, and June? No, we're talking April, May, July, I think. If I'm doing that right, I know my math is a little off. So April, May, July is going to tell us what did Kodak do in those months. That's what people are going to be reacting to. What they get after that, this $765 million loan, that's going to be in Q3. We'll see what happens with that. So keep your eye on it. I'm very interested to see where it goes. It's already fallen more than 50% from its 30 something odd dollar high, or however high it was. Could have been 60. I don't know. It's like $14 or $15 today. Not great. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. We'll probably just keep covering and just touching up on this just to see where it goes. All right. Now, aside from that, let's get to the real news and the actual legitimate stock of the day, and that is Johnson and Johnson. And you can call it ironic or what have you, but Johnson & Johnson is one of the stocks that I do own. If you watched the video from last week, I think I did one about maybe 2.5 weeks ago. We talked about Johnson & Johnson as well as Moderna, GlaxoSmithKline, and other health companies that were trying to create a vaccine and were getting government money. Well, today was Johnson & Johnson. It's actually the second time that Johnson & Johnson has gotten some money. This time they get close to $1 billion. Now, stock was up just a little bit today. It is expected, and you always know what happens with expectations in the stock market. It can be crazy. It is expected that it will move up tomorrow. We'll see. You never know what's going to happen between right now and when the market opens and when the market closes. All types of crazy things can happen. So if you're looking into it, make sure it fits for you. Don't just jump in and think you're going to make a quick dollar. We don't do that here. At least not with just buying the stocks. All right. So what we know is that Johnson & Johnson they're contracted, they've gotten the money, and they're expected to deliver 100 million doses of the vaccine. I guess whenever that vaccine is created, they have another option to do another $200 million vaccines. Again, I don't know the logistics of like how close they are. I know they're in early stages. Johnson & Johnson is. We'll see how that works and when it works. But this is good news for Johnson & Johnson. We also know that they've been around since like 1866, so it's been 100 years and going. They're a very solid company. My argument at the time, and you can always own more than one thing, my argument at the time, we were looking at Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and some other drug companies. I chose Johnson & Johnson simply because of the history. They've been around for a bit longer. They're a little more diverse. If the vaccine doesn't work out for some odd reason, they have other options. Moderna, in my view, does not, even though you would have made more money in Moderna. Just throwing it out there. But if you go back and watch the video from last week, I gave you a list of stocks that were good, or stocks that I liked and stocks that I would completely avoid. Johnson & Johnson was on there, so was Moderna. And then we also talked about others. We had also went all the way back and talked about Moderna and how I felt about it and why I felt Johnson & Johnson was just a tad bit better from a safety perspective. And for me, and for a lot of you guys too, we're looking at the safety perspective. Like, yes, I want to make money, but I really, really, really don't want to lose. And I think that's why Johnson & Johnson sticks out to me a bit more than Moderna. You can read the article for yourself. Essentially, like I said, this is the second time they've gotten money. You can see here, earlier this year, they got $456 million to develop a vaccine. That is starting in the works. They're in phase 1, last time I checked. And they've got another $1 billion today. Was it today? Yes, they got another $1 billion today. Or yesterday, technically. So this is all good news for Johnson & Johnson. Let's take a look at the chart. This is on Yahoo Finance. This just shows what they've done over the past year. Now, the S&P 500 is very, very close to where they are, just for context. Obviously, most stocks took a huge dip at this time, but the reason why I'm in Johnson & Johnson now and why I will be there for at least December for a few reasons. We know they're working on the cure. We know that they're going to, whenever this thing is ready to push out, we know they're going to have at least a third of the market. There are approximately a little more than 300 million Americans. They're going to be doing at least 100 million of them with the option to do another 200. So it is of note that is the case. You can look here and see what they've done over the last 2 years, but it's the secondary portion of it. Man, this dip was terrible. The second portion of it is what's most important, or what is at least important in my eyes. They are diversified. We talked about Chegg yesterday and how whatever their market is, that's it. Like once you get X amount of college kids, once you get X amount of high school kids, that's it. Because once you're out of high school, once you're out of college, you are not renting textbooks, you're not logging online to do classes and things of that nature. There is a ceiling. That doesn't mean they don't have for forever to make money. That's not the case, but there is a ceiling. Johnson & Johnson is much more diversified, but they don't necessarily have a ceiling in terms of what people do. So if you go here, and this is just a random website that I pulled, this is just some of Johnson & Johnson's brands, some of the other things that they own that you might not know about, that gives at least me a bit more comfort outside of what they have of just a potential COVID vaccine and COVID related things. I don't know where my camera went or where I don't know where my face went at all, but we are going to continue anyway. So for example, they make my life-saving drug, which is Zyrtec, because without it, I would be an allergic mess right now. They do Zyrtec. They make Purell, which is extremely important right now. So that is something to note as well. They've got Listerine, and you can read all the stuff here. All of the baby stuff, shampoo, all of that. I'm gonna be buying a lot of that since we're having a little girl here in just a few weeks. And people been at home and quarantine, so it's gonna be some kids popping up here pretty soon. So that is another thing that you might want to be aware of. So Johnson & Johnson, I think, is just really well positioned for what could happen in the near future. I don't think it's going to be a rocket ship where it just absolutely takes off. I think it's going to be something that's solid and does a little bit better than what the average would do. But again, they've got a billion. I was going to say 100 million. They got $1 billion to make 100 million, or to release 100 million of the vaccines and kind of get those shipped out. They own other things, which is the differentiator than, let's say, a Pfizer or Moderna, or others, where they pretty much only make drugs. So this is what I like. They also have a very strong dividend. They've been paying that dividend for forever. So that is good news too. All right, this is the section of the show. I call it a show. I don't know why. This is the time where I take questions and things of that nature. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Also, make sure that you go to buildingbread.com/free to join the email list, because we do stuff like this weekly in email format. It's usually very short, very simple, easy to understand. And we talk about like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what you need to know for this week and how to navigate this. As you see here, 2-year chart doesn't look all that great. I am more concerned about the 1-year chart. You can see it's just barely above the S&P 500, but we are projecting forward and what we think will happen over the, at least the next 6 months, and we'll see what happens after that. So, all right, questions. Let's see. Congratulations. Thank you. I am excited. I am excited now. I will be sleepy later. We will see how the format of this changes, because I will be on the night shift. I think I'm on the night shift. Yeah, I'll be on the night shift from midnight to noon. So that's how we did it with our firstborn. It's like, I did some hours and my wife did some hours. We just kind of shift on, shift off. So I'll be my shift will start at midnight, and then I'll be watching her and the 2-year-old. I don't know how people do this. And the 2-year-old until noon, and then sleeping at, whatever time sleep comes. So we'll see. It was not fun the first time around. It probably won't be fun this time around. It'll be fun later though. It's when they hit 3 months and they can laugh, that's when I start having fun. So I intend on keeping this time. It may move, because I think me going to sleep at like 8 is probably the smartest thing for me to do. So we'll see what works. But I intend on doing these daily in some format. Worst case scenario, we'll do pre-recorded, where it'll be just, hey, this is what's going on. You guys can watch and share that way. So we'll see. Be flexible, please. I appreciate it. All right. Top 3 REIT dividend stocks from me. So the 3 that come to mind. So you guys know, like, dividends are great, but they're never like my absolute go-to. So I don't right now anyway. My strategy is not to invest for specifically dividend. So that is one I want to go back and look at. I will tell you my favorite REITs in general, and they do pay good dividends. But there's a difference between REITs just for dividends and REITs I like that happen to pay good dividends. So Digital Realty Trust, I think their symbol is DLR, if I'm not mistaken. We talked about Equinix, EQIX, and then American Tower REIT, AMT. Those are my three favorites, and three that I own on, I think all three are on the public app. All of those do pay good dividends. All of them have done quite well, especially recently. So those are the three that come to mind. They're not dividend specific, but as a category, REITs tend to pay good dividends. So those are my top three. All right, I'm in your Building Bread program. Do you offer one-on-one consultations? Yes, I do consultations. You can sign up for one of those at buildingbread.com/call. And let me make sure. So the feed just quit on my phone. So hopefully I am still live. And okay, I am. So that's good. All right. So yes, I do the consultations. Buildingbread.com/call. You can sign up for a free call, and we can take things from there. All right. Just seeing what other questions. What do you say about TDoc, which is Teledoc, and LVGo? I don't know. I say LVGo, but LVGO. I don't know what company that is, so I'm gonna look it up real quick. Let's see, LVGO. So Teledoc, I do think. I mean, Teledoc is taking off. So if you're looking for something that's short term, that I think Teledoc is actually pretty good for short term. It just has not met. Like I always tell you guys, and those who are in the course. I think Sherry or someone mentioned it earlier. Like I have a really strict checklist that says this is when me, Kevin, is going to go buy a stock. That does not mean though that there aren't other great stocks out there, especially for short term. Teledoc is really good. What we're seeing here from Livongo, this looks decent, but again, I need to go and see exactly what they do, how they do it, how long they've been around, blah 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 blah. But if a client came to me, and this is how I usually judge these questions, if a client came to me and said, "Hey, look, I want to buy a Teledoc, or I have $10,000 in Teledoc or something like that," I'm like, okay, that's not bad. But this one I need to look into. This is, I think I've crossed it, but I don't know much about them, so I need to learn more about them. All right. Again, in terms of are they a buy now, I don't know about this one, the one that you see in the background, because I just pretty much heard of it today. I think I am more confident in Teledoc just because I'm more familiar with it. Teledoc, for those that don't know, is like the digital. It's like Zoom for doctors. That's pretty much what it is. I don't know why I didn't think of that idea years ago. But as you can see here, it too, almost just like Zoom, took off. I think they are relatively new. I don't know if they IPO. Yeah, it looks like they IPO 2018 maybe. Actually, no, they've been around for at least 5 years. So interesting for Teledyne. You can see here that it took a big dip. Actually, yeah, today 18%. So these are questions I would ask. Again, I think based on what you can see here, they've been pretty good. But why did they dip 18%? Questions that I would want to know, right? All right, bought Teladoc in January, sold it, made over 100%. Psh, I ain't mad at you. And that's the way to play it. Like you knew, you got in, you got some quality, you got your 100%, and you got out. Like, and that's for something like this. Anytime you're doing a short term, so we can get into this later, but there's a difference between investing and trading. Investing is long term, 6 months, 12 months, even longer. And then you got trading. Like, hey, I'm going to do it for a month. I'm going to do it for like 2-3 weeks. I'm going to do it for a day. So Tyler smartly said, look, I'm getting in this. I'm going to get what I need to get out of this, and I'm bouncing, which is if you're trading, which I think this is a better trade than it is an investment, just because I don't know about it just yet. That's the way to play it. So great job. That's a good move. Any thoughts on PLD? I have heard of this one before. I don't know why I couldn't remember the name of it. Probably because I couldn't pronounce it. Let's see. Prologis. I'm trying to remember what I thought about this company at the time that I first saw it. My assumption, and this is assumption, it's live, we're looking at it at the same time. My assumption is that it is solid. As you can see, over the last 5 years, that looks very, very good. So this gives me confidence. I know I've come across the name. I just don't know what they do before I can, put my stamp on it, if you will. Um, I've seen it before. So this is another one I need to go back and just review because I remember seeing this. I think this was a stock I was considering buying or putting on the watch list. There's a chance that it did make it just because I didn't have enough spots. The Instagram watch list only has 5 spots. That just may not have made it for that reason. I just need to go back and review. But from what I think I remember, I think this was a solid one. Obviously here too, you look at the last 5 years, right? Right? Like it's hard not to be more solid than that. So this gives me a lot more confidence here. All right. All right, so that is it for the day. It is 10:30, so I need to move to Instagram. It's a REIT. That's why. Okay. So yes, I was thinking like I saw it somewhere. So I think someone had asked a question about a REIT fund yesterday, and this was one of the ones on it. So yeah, this is. I mean, this is clearly right. It's a solid REIT. I still don't know what type of REIT, what type of property they own, but yeah, this is a pretty good one. Um, but again, I would do just a bit more research than that. But yeah, I knew it was familiar, so that's good. All right, so that is it for me today. Feel free to continue to comment and share. I will jump back in the comments here very shortly. Thank y'all for coming out tomorrow. Unless you guys got some suggestions, if you got some suggestions for tomorrow's episode or show, feel free to add those too. But obviously, we follow the news and whatever happens in the market happens. So we'll see. But feel free to add any suggestions there. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. And remember to go here to buildingbread.com/free. You'll be added to the email list if you're not already. Don't DM me your email because I have to copy it and paste it and then put your name. Like, just go straight to buildingbread.com/free and you'll be added to the list automatically. You also get the first 2 chapters of Starting Point, my last book, my best-selling book actually, for free when you sign up. All right, that's it for me. I will see